Every single XRP holder better watch this. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neo, where we keep technical analysis short and sweet. I just had to say that intro to keep you guys interested. So Bitcoin is at 117, a very nice high. It is getting very high volume whenever it starts pushing lower. So we can't expect this to get a little bit more of a retrace and test this high. This is the absolute top that we've seen so far. However, if it does test that high and break it, we are in for a very strong bull run. Looking out at the daily, you can see when the high was tested, it broke off massively to the top side. So we can expect the same. 120 is not the top. We can't expect a little bit of consolidation while people are taking some profits and putting those profits into other altcoins and tokens. So let's move on over to Toshi, a meme coin, building a very nice base. For me, as soon as we opened up this chart, I haven't done very much TA on this because I have not invested heavily into it. I like to make pretty decent profits with the money I'm putting in. We could play around with it, but inverse head and shoulders playing out. If we come up to this high right here and break that, we will see a continuation, most likely up to the 0.00075 from 0.00056. May not seem like much, but it's roughly a 36% increase. Keeping in mind, this is a meme coin. However, the all-time high is way up here, where it drops a zero, and it's 0.0018. Moving over to something more reliable, H-bar. H-bar, we had an entry, if you're in my signal channel, right here around 20 cents. We didn't get the absolute low. We weren't looking at it until we saw that it had some structural support here above the 18-cent mark. And with that, we had an increase in price again, all the way up to around 26 cents before retracing and holding up above the CM guppy. We see that right around here when we held above CM guppy and did not cross into the green part. We had a push upwards. So we are trying to hold up right here above the green, and we could expect another push upwards depending on what Bitcoin does. If not, the retracement could be back down to the 20-cent mark or a little lower to test around the 200 EMA. The H-bar is looking very nice for structural support. When we start seeing this play out and building upwards, we can imagine there's more and more buyers, and once we break this top, it's going to take off. Moving over to XYO, which had a massive gain and retracement right back down to the downward trend line. We can see that there's a channel happening right here in between these two black trend lines. I know this is very messy, but we pushed up. Once we got over that 200 EMA, we tested it, came underneath, and then once it broke, we got to push up around 50, I think it was 52% for a total within 1 day. Pretty substantial gains, and then we came back right back down to it, around 22% decrease from that high. And we can see that I had previously put out here in this blue line around a 31% increase, and that's exactly where it went before retracing and testing this downward trend line as support. These two gold bars right here are more the fair value gap, which it collected and is now starting its run back up into this fair value gap before hitting this 0.14 area. And XYO has a very long way to go as well, and also filling out a cup and handle pattern that we are seeing on a majority of the charts that I have been looking at. Removing everything. XYO is having a similar setup to what we are seeing with XCN. We'll get to it, don't worry, we'll get to XCN, but you can see right here, use a brush, here's the cup, here's the handle, and everything came into play once I did that. Removing everything, we are now trying to get above that 200 EMA, which is right here on the daily. So now that it's above the 200 EMA, looking at volume picking up, we are breaking out in the oversold area on the daily for the RSI. However, volume just needs to pick up, and we will see XYO take off, and its next major resistance is right around here in the to 4.5 cent mark, which is 4x, keep in mind. And looking back here around November, we had that major pump, a little bit of consolidation, and then hell broke loose right after that. That was all the way down here around 0.008 up into 4 cents. Major gains have happened before. Major gains will happen again. 450% increase within 1 or 2 days. And then it just starts trickling out from there. Everybody wants to buy at the top, obviously. So moving over to perpetual protocol, it's also forming out a very nice bullish formation, holding above the 200 EMA at the RSI on the 50. The volume is decreasing, the price is increasing. We call that divergence. So me personally, I like to build the trend lines, see this as support. It may push up, come and test this once more, and if that holds, we can expect maybe a further push up to a new high for perpetual protocol. But zooming out in the daily, also it is at a very low point, but it has a very strong high point to be going to. It's all the way up here at $23. We are at 27 cents. So just keeping that in mind, now is not a bad time to enter perpetual protocol. Just looking at the volume, RSI, all that, you guys know. Hopefully you're learning from this and maybe you have a different strategy. Love to hear it. But this has worked for me over time and time again. It's kind of boring, but if it works, why change it? If it's not broke, there's no need to fix it. I don't know if that's the actual phrase, but looking at XLM, we had our entry in here around 0.29, and we had a major, I believe it was an 80% increase here, which they say can't really time the top, but we saw enter here, and we actually exited right around here, around 75% increase. Not bad for, what is that, 2 days? 2 days for 75% increase, 2 or 3 days, yeah. Not bad, but we are in consolidation. It's forming very nicely. It's holding above the green and the CM guppy. Volume is decreasing. We just need to see a little bit more volume. We are entering back into the RSI, so we may see a little bit more consolidation, pushing this back down to the 50% mark. But XLM does have major potential. We can see this thing hit some pretty nice all-time highs. 45 cents is not a bad price for what this can be going to. However, you can wait and see if you see a little bit of a retracement. As when we see these major pumps, we usually see a little bit of consolidation, if not a lot of consolidation, maybe a little pullback to the fair value gaps in this area, around 43, before ultimately filling out the rest of the handle and pushing upwards to 64 cents and beyond. Cup and handle in this as well, all-time high. I think $1.36 is what I have charted. So I believe it can go a lot higher than $1.36. Some people even say 50, but looking at the wick off here, it's looking like it's more and more bullish on the daily chart, and the volume is picking up. So you can't expect this. I mean, it can be dropping rapidly to pick up that volume and pick up all these buy orders, but we're probably most likely going to see some consolidation pushing upwards, and a nice slow trickle up to the 52, 53 cent mark again, before ultimately pushing to new highs. Real quick, compound and torn. Compound had that nice pump up, got a little bit of rejection, but look at that volume. Look at the volume right here. I'm going to circle that just because, look at that. That's intense. All this down here, a little bit of pick-me-up, judging right here. You can see that's what happened. And then decreasing in price, decreasing here. And now volume is picking up massively, and it's building a very nice base. So getting rid of all that stuff. Once this breaks this downward trend line, next stop 61 cents. When it breaks and holds above the 61 cent, 618's all the way up here at 100. What is this? Percentage? No, it's dollars. $100, 81 cents. So $47 to 100 is not bad, and it can happen very quickly. Just look at that volume. That's very good volume. RSI is right at the 50. All it needs to do is test around this yellow line and get that push up over this downward trend line, which is also pushing it over the 200 EMA on the daily. And as we all know, once it gets over that 200 EMA, it breaks out and has a major pump up. So keep compound in mind, as well as tornado cash looking very nice, testing 12 times to this upward trend line right here. Once this breaks and closes, we can expect a pump similar to back in January 22nd, which that pump alone from this price point to here, 237% in a day, and previously, rough estimate here to here, 1,100% in 2 days for tornado cash, and then back down to consolidation. However, we're at $10. Its all-time high is up here at $459. I don't have a huge bag. I know I should be stacking more of tornado cash, but definitely keep that one in mind. If not, buy, but not financial advice. Definitely not financial advice. Moving over to XRP, in coherence with XLM, very nice inverse head and shoulders played out. We held above that 2.65 area. We're holding above the bull pendant. XRP is about to ignite and take off. I had these orange bars drawn so we can see that some major stuff will be happening within these days, and that's exactly what happened. We are right here around the, 736 on the Fibonacci retracement, this blue box area right here. But the next stop being 3.44. Once it breaks that high, roughly, it's got a very long way to go. We may see some resistance here around $6, $6.07, before pulling back pretty substantially and then taking off once yet again to around $12, $25 or higher. XRP, I keep expressing it, stack your bag. It's not too late at $2.91. And then everybody's favorite, XCN. XCN filling out the cup and handle. All-time high, 18 cents, currently at 0.018 cents. Removing absolutely everything. That chart is just looking nice. Look at just this area right here. We crossed over the red, became green CM guppy, had that push, consolidation, and then eventually broke back down. However, this is the second attempt. It's holding over the 200 EMA very nicely. It held it very strongly as support. Volume is picking up a little bit. You can't see it because of the lightning bolt there. But XCN is going to hit 18 cents. That's not financial advice either, but its all-time high is 18 cents. And typically in the crypto market and a lot of other markets, when it hits an all-time high, it retraces obviously, but then always goes back to get to that all-time high and beyond, to get the sellers out of the all-time high, the buyers to buy it even further up. And XCN is just looking absolutely phenomenal. Everything's going to come back into play one sec, but a massive W is forming for XCN, and that is a win. So definitely stack your bags for XCN. It's looking similar to XRP, where it's getting a wick off on its daily candle right here, a little wick off, showing that there's support within these red bars, and we can see a continuation all the way up for XCN. And that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you on the next one.